Don't breathe, just listen. Yeah, I've also prepared a presentation for you, although I'm not the best specialist at PowerPoint slides, but I hope I can say more than show. So, dear guests, dear distinguished AIA members, dear Walter, dear Taha, and every visionary, and yes, even spiritual compasses have endured the longest. Our story as Homo sapiens did not begin a few thousand years ago. It began over 70,000 years ago. From an earlier ancestors, when the first of our ancestors left enduring prints and designs on the world and declared, "I was here." From African origins, the fossils of Morocco and Ethiopia, we spread across every continent. The expansion made possible agriculture. Agriculture was the first light in civilization history that that created the first work, the first jobs, and made like a food surplus for so many people. And today we are more than 8 billion, the sole surviving human species, living mostly in sophisticated societies. What made or gave freedom to those sophisticated societies, we will explore further. And what defines a truly sophisticated society? Is it the capacity to collaborate, to integrate, to read, teach, speak, communicate, navigate, lead, build, and invent at the highest level? That is our exceptionalism. Our consciousness is the ultimate instrument. This is the flight computer of our species, telling us we are part of something way greater. And we must study our interconnectedness with reverence. Emerging research suggests we carry messages, spirits, fundamental energies that bind us. In the age of AI, this matters more than ever. The coming renaissance of artificial intelligence will create powerful new ways for us to connect and collaborate, serving more of our nation's security and personal growth. But we must never allow ourselves to become trapped in narrow digital echo chambers. We must reach outward, exactly as you do when you integrate multidisciplinary teams to solve orbital mechanics or life support challenges. Freedom is as well not optional. It is the essential propellant. Freedom separates us from being mere cogs in machines and lifts us above animal instincts. Freedom is the atmosphere in which beauty, creativity, scientific discovery, and engineering excellence flourish, whether in art, architecture, propulsion systems, or reusable spacecraft. Freedom as well give rise to the individual and to the different kinds of individual. If you explore the greatest philosophers of these times, like Nietzsche, for example, he always put like master morality and slavish morality. The master morality being that the people is guided by individualism, by freedom, by progress. And as well in the book, I write about the universal individual and the simple individual. Both are a result of democracy. So the only difference is that the universal individual, like I think like all of you, the scientists, the engineers, the teachers, these are the ones who contribute at the highest level, not only for personal success, but for the collective wisdom of humanity. And that is you, that is us. Civilization must endure forward, and it endures only through continuous innovation in education, in global health, in sustainability, and above all, currently in technology and the aerospace technologies that will let us thrive off Earth. Adaptation is not mere survival, it is thriving actually. It is building the first self-sustaining cities on other planets, and is bringing us to the moon while stewarding our home planet. And if we look at what Other complex things happened that brought us forward. If you look back at time, the greatest arcs of history, like the Renaissance, with Leonardo da Vinci's visionary machines and Copernicus opening the cosmos. After that, the 15th, 16th century, the Enlightenment, which gave rise to reason and to individual liberty, posting individualism over tradition, for example, and also rebuilding. For example, the post-World War II miracles, Germany's Wirtschaftswunder because of the Marshall Plan, Singapore meteoric rise. They almost completely eliminated corruption. It shows our capacity to rebuild and leap forward. The modern aerospace era has connected the world as never before and prepared us to become a spacefaring civilization. And this is the brighter side of now technology and space exploration. Space itself has united humanity more than any earthbound conflicts, and the vastness above us calls us to rise together. Yet the invisible architecture that truly sustains us remains: morals, ethics, beliefs, and endurance. As Will and Ariel Durant write in their magnificent book, upon which a lot of my book is written, The Story of Civilization, morality evolves with each stage of society and forms the foundation for lasting progress. So my observations are those. Philosophically, the meaning of life is in preserving the self. Historically, it is preserving communities. Scientifically, and this is our mission, it is to answer as many questions as possible and reach far beyond ourselves. This is the brighter side of civilization, to live consciously beyond stereotypes while understanding them all. Every discovery shows us only one face of an infinite mystery. If we are to reach on the moon and we are building the first cities there, we are already said to be 1,000,000 miles further than Earth, farther from Sun, yet closer to galactic story. And your dedication will expand further human consciousness itself. At the heart of all this, each study or project there is always a source. And in my book, I call this source the greatest. This is the source of knowledge, the source of motivation, of truth, of spiritual enlightenment, and the source of the universe's very beginnings. So how the universe began to happen. Also, what lies beyond the quantum, and what drives its behavior, and where might other universes hide. Walking home while writing the book last year from the Berlin Scientific Academy, where Einstein worked for 12 years, I asked myself many questions about quantum and whether there is a greater order than the Hawking's magnificent book on black holes. Like, how is everything settled to disappear? And we're never alone. There is a power, a source that holds the universe and us together. The quest to understand it, to understand what we call God, what is God, it's probably the fundamental drive to find the magic behind everything. The Big Bang happened around 13.8 billion years ago, and it was the earliest describable chapter. At the Planck epoch, 10 to the minus 43 seconds in, all forces united. The strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, the electromagnetic, and the gravitational force. Yet I believe something even more fundamental awaits our discovery, and I delved a lot into this. The cosmological clock will run for billions upon billions of years, and let's remember that new stars are born even as galaxies reside. Our oldest messages from those earliest moments is the cosmic microwave background from the source itself, carrying the fluctuations that quantum seeds stretched during inflation eventually grew into galaxies and planets and also us. Eventually, those quantum fluctuations that you see also on the book, now recently we started calling them the universe before the universe, or the egg before the universe. We believe that these quantum fluctuations gave rise to the first protons and neutrons and particles, which gave then rise to the Big Bang itself. This beginning originates from a possible collision of two singularities, or it is due to those energetic forces, the same that caused the Big Bang and the microwave background. For us, it is even more important to also explore the microwave background. Quantum physics still holds unfinished business. However, through quantum mechanics, we are on the path to solving major world and very much of our nation's issues, such as optimization problems. For quantum mechanics, we need to understand, as you know, two principles: the superposition and the entanglement. And I've asked, like, what if a qubit can take more directions than a simple up and down? Maybe this will give us more answers. Mastering entanglement and superposition will unlock the computational power needed to solve the hardest problems in aeronautics and deep space exploration. Without quantum physics, we will not be able to understand the smallest of the world, the beginning, or the phenomena that classical physics is not able to understand. From subatomic particles to the rules governing reality, and thus making it fundamental to understanding how the universe started, whether there are other universes or multiverses, and the nature of reality. From Planck's E equals hf, where f is the frequency and h is the new cosmological, to Einstein's photoelectric effect, which gave him the Nobel Prize, and general relativity, there are the foundations upon which your daily work stands. The multiverse remains unproven. There is lack of studies, but our quantum reality promises a revolution in how we perceive ourselves and our place in the cosmos and reality itself. Science will increasingly feel like science fiction, and it will be the most beautiful fiction, grounded in rigor. I believe you've all seen the latest projects like TerraFab and other announcements. This is already opening the doors to entirely new engineering frontiers and companies. So whether you're forging an equation, designing a heat shield, composing a control algorithm, or simply living a life of profound inquiry, we ascend to greatness through our relentless quest to know more. This is always our drive. We want to know more. We want to understand more. We want the answers to questions. And this is the beauty of science and what we work on. And let the letters speak to the universe within us. I say, for great, G is for gravitas, the weight of our responsibility. R is for resonance, the harmony of worlds we engineer. E is for the endurance of faith. A is for the ambitiously bright future I discern for your spirit. T is for transcendence, the sublime convergence of theory and engineering that leads us to new revelations. The true infinite is not somewhere out there. It lives in the sustained generative act of creation we performed right here. And in every design review, every test firing, every line of code, every bold vision. And this is the brighter side of now. Never in history we have possessed greater tools, greater knowledges, or greater potential. And never the horizon was so wider for us. The brighter side of now is our collective decision to give each day the absolute utmost of our capabilities as engineers, as scientists, as citizens, as creators, and builders of the future. Because of this realization that we understand more and we want to give more, I chose every day to give more, even more than others. There is also something interesting about the scientific perspective of now, whether this exists at all. Like, we don't know. Is this the reality or maybe not? If you look at time through scientific perspective, we see we must go to Einstein general relativity, and according to this theory, there is no universal now. So now does not exist anywhere in the universe or now. And I like to challenge ideas, and I challenge this in the book and propose, just to expand on curiosity, that we also may see time as linear and infinite. One reason being that always new stars are keep being born. And navigating this infinite universe with knowledge, courage, and courage is the surest path to the next breakthroughs. Breakthroughs exactly like the ones you will make tomorrow is possible. They say imagination is more important than knowledge. And I say imagination filled with the right knowledge and engineering discipline is the ultimate truth behind every great leap. To tell you why I think knowledge is more important, because I never imagined that I would be presenting here. I never in my life imagined that I'll be presenting here. So I think what brings us forward is our knowledges. This is our wealth. This is our storage. This is us. This is what brings us forward. You're the best, absolutely the best in the world, and this is amazing. The brighter side of civilization and in the universe is a very optimistic perspective. If you look at the book of society, very optimistic perspective. Why I decided to give this optimistic perspective of society is because I think we have so many conflicts in the world, and we sometimes tend to take decisions also in our life, not engineering decisions, based on negative emotions. And how the world works is neither through pessimism or neither through optimism. It's very pragmatic, very rational. There is an order. Also in the universe, there is an order, and also how, for example, the economy works, there is an order, that everything is ordered. And I decided to propose like a positive view on the world, just to give a balance to everything what's happening. Like everyone that wants to buy my book always says, well, I read only the creamies. I read only the news. I read only this is the opposite. This is something different. And because I think, like, if you look at or if you're solving a problem, if you're solving an engineering problem, or if you're doing a research work, and if you look at the end goal or the end result with positive lenses, you eventually find the solution to what you want to prove. And even the theory is proven wrong or not possible, this is just the beginning for you, because from there you can take this and use it as knowledge. And this is the greatest and the brightest side of now, that we have so many knowledges available to us. We have storages of knowledges, and we need to use them. And this is very important to not narrow yourself into one path, or into one problem, or into one subject, because this will create so many blind spots for you. It is like seeing a rocket and touching the tail, and you think this is the only thing that spaces it further and brings it back. So the more multidisciplinary you choose to become, the biggest breakthroughs. And examples are, for example, the studies of consciousness that uses neuroscience, physics, AI, or quantum biology, or neuroeconomies. So there are many examples, and this is, I think, knowledge is great, and knowledge is great, and this university is an example for that. If you don't have any questions, for sure, maybe you have. I would like to ask you, maybe some of you will tell what really like sparked your interest, and what is something that you would really like to read further?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I like what you shared about your book. Can you share with us what some of the people that have asked for the book or have read it, and maybe some of your discussions, what are the things that other people around the world have highlighted or asked you about or commented on that you can share with us?
Mostly the search for answers. What has sustained us so far? What really has sustained us so far? What really brings us forward? What are the origins, and how did it all started? So many questions. I think people are very curious, and they want to understand how everything functions, and this is an optimistic perspective of how everything functions. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
I noticed you reference William Ariel Durant in your book, The History of Civilization. But the history of civilization is one of conflict. There's been awful wars, and we're in wars right now. So do you extrapolate, like in 1,000 years from now, there will be no more wars? Are we headed towards loving our neighbor instead of hating our neighbor? How do you see that evolve?
That will be ideal. That will be ideal, and how we observe the universe to work is being very ideal. So I believe in many years from now there will be no wars. Maybe the problems or the conflicts that we need to solve will be on another level, but I think we evolve with time. I'm sure not necessarily like everyone wants to live without wars, but at least those wars will be without human cost. Yeah.
Do you think about the role of governments? I mean, right now we have different governments around the world that cause or have conflict with each other. They fund research. Some fund more than others, as you mentioned before. What is the role of governments in your view moving forward? What should be the role, I should say? How do they play into this viewpoint?
Yeah, very, very good question. A very important one. I think the role of government will not decrease. I think it will be big, and that's important. And I think the role of government, the biggest role of government, according to my opinion, also now and in the future, will be to sustain Earth as it is, because we want to see like many more 70,000 years more, and not 2,000 or 3,000 years more. So I think the biggest role of government is to sustain Earth.
Protect our resources.
To protect our resources. Yeah.
I think you left out something. Extraterrestrials.
Extraterrestrials.
So are we going? You said we're probably not alone in the universe.
I said we're probably not alone. I said we're probably not alone. Scientists haven't. I've studied the most complicated equations that there are. Whether there is someone or not, it's not proven. We are alone. I think either we won't be alone or we're not alone. So we don't know, but yeah, I believe we're not alone. We haven't we can be here at the same point of time and at the same point of history, but probably there was someone or there will be someone, and we need to prepare for such meetings. Yeah. Thank you for the questions.
What role do you see secondary education playing as a middle school teacher who's teaching aviation, aerospace, and engineering? Where do you see that going? Where do we need to fill in the gaps there to help us get further along?
Pardon, in the school years of for
8th grade. I'm running an acceleration program at our middle school, and we currently have 12 middle school students, 13 and 14-year-olds, who have been accepted at Valencia in dual enrollment. And so we're focusing more on our school and actually developing an acceleration academy and building it around the Partner Lead the Way program. So I'm teaching medical detective to 6th graders. They're learning a variety of medical field activities, from taking vital signs to growing bacteria and testing antibiotics, to design and modeling and basic mechanical engineering, some computer science, starting with microbits, moving to Vex robotics. And this year we added in a 9th grade engineering class. That I have 7 students tomorrow that are testing on AutoCAD Fusion. And I have 22 more that are working towards that. Where else do you see, what do we need to focus on? We're struggling with education, especially here in Florida right now. And we're seeing so many students coming in that have lost their spark for learning. They're just there to fill the seat as long as they're required to. So we're trying to spark their imaginations and they're looking into the future. My principal, I believe, was actually on the Zoom call, and he started his own corporation or a company for HULE, Human Universal Existential Learning. And so this has been really fascinating to the two of us, as we were very excited to be here because we want to see where can we help grow our future generation.
Yeah. I think kids are very important. Kids are the future, and I think we need to listen more to the kids. To actually, if we see that someone from 6th or 8th grade has more interest than others in, be it space industry, then he or she needs to go into this direction. If we see that the kids who has less interest, we don't have to force their curiosity, because maybe their talents and their knowledge lives in other fields. Yeah.
Question related to what you're seeing is, to get that spark, you have to take away the technology of the devices.
For some students, yes. For some students, for example, my 6th graders are currently working with the microbits. They've been working on the computers, they're programming that, they're putting all the different pieces together to make things happen, but it's not quite clicking with them. So right now you have to create a board game, and you have to make the microbit major portion of the game. So they're back there with cardboard and with paper, and they're coming up with rules for the game. And okay, how are we going to use the microbit? And they're told, you can do a whole lot of things with it, except use it for dice. Dice is boring, we know how to do that. how are we going to use it instead? And so they're sitting back there working at the table. Some of them are over on the computers programming the microbit. And I keep hearing, this is the best project ever. This is the best thing ever. We're loving this. What do we do next year? If we're going to start with this, where do we go from here? And a lot of the kids ended up in my class because they didn't want to take art. They didn't want to take music. And so it was PE and my class. And they came in and I had students in my 7th grade who came into aerospace and were like, I don't want to be, I'm just here to, I had to be in a class, and they're sitting there. And now those kids have gone through flight and space and are now in design and modeling. And they've turned from turning nothing in to A students going, okay, guys, we need to get this together. Remember, we're going to make our designs. We're going to use our decision matrix to decide which one to do. And they're going back and forth. And I'm like, here for a second. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? I said, I just need to tell you how impressed I am with the amount of work you're doing. I didn't think I was going to like it. This is awesome. And so they're fighting to get into my next classes for next year. And they're passing the word on that we've been struggling to get students to come into the class because they know it's a lot of work. But I have 130 fifth graders coming get into my 6th grade class, and I only have 60 spots.
Huh.
So we're trying to figure out, how do we fix this? And right now we're in a hiring freeze, so we can bring in another teacher, and finding someone with an engineering background to teach at a middle school level is pretty hard. People are like, oh, what kind of engineer are you? I'm like, a stay-at-home mom who decided to go into teaching, and I like the shop class that I did in middle school, so that's why when this came open and they needed to be a teacher, I went, oh, I could try that. So it's just amazing that they didn't realize this was something they could do. And like I said, I now have 12 students that have been accepted at Valencia, and they're 13 and 14 years old, with 5 of them signing up for their 2nd semester, and the other 7 getting ready to sign up for their 1st semester in the fall. And we're trying to grow that and see where we can go. We have a lot of resistance. Oh, don't push them. I'm like, they're the ones signing up. They want this. I'm like, not that one. He's not that bright. I'm like, he passed all the entrance exams, so maybe we're not seeing it. And they come to me and go, why can't our English and our math classes be exciting like this? And so I'm trying to get the other teachers to integrate some of the STEM into their classes. And so far I've gotten one person going, oh, maybe I'd like to try and do some of those things. But the kids are the ones that are starting to drive it. And I'm only a couple of years away from retirement, and we're trying to get this established. And they're already going, you still a couple more years? I'm like, let's get through the next couple and see where we're at then. But it's, if you give the kids something to do with their hands and computers and their technology, they're ready. Some of the assignments I go, all right, so we're learning about the 4 forces of flight. Create a TikTok about that. And they're in the corners writing their scripts and videotaping them. And you just have to give them the right purpose to use the technology.
Very good.
Very good. Yes.
You see this kind of thing happening in Germany, similar thing with younger kids wanting to do or having pockets of creativity.
I've given, I was teaching in a school from 1st to 12th grade of physics, chemistry, biology. And what I observed is that kids nowadays are very curious. They're very curious. They want to know more. They want to learn. So I think if you give them the right tools, maybe they will as well want to expand this, which is very, very much needed. I mean, you have it here. You have it here. The space industry and engineering and aeronautics and astronautics here, for me, isn't lacking anything. For me, it's just perfect. Yeah, how do you find it?
Good question. So from my perspective, I decided to move here to Orlando because it is a hub for space, aerospace, aeronautics. That's my interest. I know it's a hub for simulation, modeling and simulation, gaming. What else am I missing? Amusement parks.
Amusement parks.
I mean, the amusement parks, is Imagineering is driving a lot of this innovation, simulation, and training, and gaming. It's all part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've went to an astronaut training experience just to experience what kids are experiencing, and it's very interesting.
So I think one of the best tools for young people these days for the space industry is the CubeSat. So I'm a satellite systems engineer, so I started off in the mid-80s, working with big 100-foot, 400-ton antennas. We did communication support for NASA, etc., etc. Now, the satellites in those days, and even today, big geostationary satellites, weighing tons, cost millions of dollars, it would take years to build and launch. So there was only a select number of people working for Boeing and Ford Aerospace, etc., who could work on them. So for the average person and the average school kid, this was literally out in outer space. Now, these satellites have a number of subsystems. They have a propulsion system, they have a thermal system, they have what's called the attitude and orbit control system, which allows the satellite to know exactly where it is, get it in the right orbit for stability, a communications package, etc. So I worked on these things for many years, but trying to get young engineers to understand this, there weren't the tools available. You'd have to go out to California to visit a satellite factory, or out the Cape to see a launch. Well, CubeSats have changed everything. So these are very, very small satellites, but they have all the features of a big one.
Yep.
Some of them have a propulsion system, electrical system, thermal, etc. Now, there are a lot of organizations, there's NASA, there's a small sat group that can provide schools with kits. So you can get a little kit, and one of the main things is programming. So what you can do is you can program these small CubeSats with Python, etc., etc. And they actually have a convention out at the Kennedy Space Center each year. Now, I tutor poor students in Nigeria, spent 7 years there, and these kids in the remote villages, they're all desperate to learn. So if you have a poor country and you get these kids interested in CubeSats, you can actually get them launched. And the guy who's allowed this, love him or loathe him, is Elon Musk. He's managed to get the cost of a satellite launch down by over 90%. And he's got a thing called the transporter system, where you can apply and you can get a small CubeSat launch. Sometimes you can get a grant for it. Other times you have to pay maybe $5,000 or $6,000. So a small country can get one of these launched. Now, what are the advantages of that? You can fit on an infrared package. And what can happen is that as the satellite's passing over the country, it can take a look at crops and water. It can see from the pictures whether the crops are doing good, whether they're drying out. You can see rivers and how they're doing, etc., etc. So once you've got a cadre of young engineers who understand the basics of this, they can then get a small sat built. This is a bit bigger with more capabilities. And there's various entities around the world that provide the financing for that. So now maybe you can launch a satellite that has a communications package on board. And that means that remote villages can communicate with a central headquarters, and it affects the economy. I went out to remote villages in Nigeria, which are literally mud huts, etc., and they have a great thing called microloans. So, and one of the problems in Nigeria and elsewhere was corruption. So what we do is we dig in our pockets here, we give money, it goes overseas. 80–90% of that ends up in the pockets of government officials and the people who rarely see it. But with a microloan, if you're someone in a village and say you've got a little loom and you're producing shirts or trousers and you're doing this manually, you get a microloan of maybe $100 and you can buy something more sophisticated. So the next problem is electrical power. So the various companies can provide solar, etc., and small wind turbines. But having a satellite dish in a village will allow you many things. It allows education. The United Nations, various American charities have educational programs. You teach the kids English, you teach them science. They're literally sitting in a remote village there. You can teach them small medical things, how to treat with infections, etc. And by having these microloans and the satellite systems, it can actually affect the economy there. Plus, when people are better fed, when they are better educated, there's less chance of trouble happening. I traveled to over 135 different countries around the world, Yemen, Pakistan, Nigeria, all over. Whenever there was trouble, a lot of it was due to people going hungry. The oppression is a different matter for the police, political stuff, but often from people going hungry. So these systems now can help, but on the other side, you've got NASA. So I did communications support for NASA for 3 years for the Space Shuttle program. I'm a big fan of the space program, but the thing is NASA has a budget. Who has to vote for that? Congressmen and senators. Now, we all love space. We're all engineers and teachers and whatever. But what if you're a single mother with 3 kids and you can barely afford to feed them? Or if you're someone that's been laid off and then you see the Artemis rocket taking off. So NASA is not good at publicizing itself to the very people who are going to form the majority of voters. And this is a big issue. You know, Artemis is a tremendous thing, but the money that's involved in this is staggering. So how would you say how to go about explaining to the average person, not someone who's an engineer or a scientist, what the benefits of the space program are? I know a lot of them, but how would you say that to say you had a town hall meeting with a bunch of people and someone said, you can barely afford my rent. And another guy says, I'm a veteran, you know, and I'm living out in the street and I'm seeing this thing taking off and stuff like that. How do you go about trying to promote that? If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea and great question. I think through innovation, innovation is very important. Also in education, we will use space for as well for education, as you say, to study crops. For example, this is amazing idea. And the biggest innovative fields that we'll see in the next years are as well in education because of technology and because of space technology as well. And how to promote more so that people see firing rockets not just as a show, but something we need, is through doing more of that. Through doing more of that, becoming something normal, like driving a car, like having a car. And I think the space industry will increasingly as well be in our lives. Probably the planes of tomorrow won't be the planes of now, but we'll travel by rocket from here to Nigeria or to Europe. Yeah. And in education, we just need to keep innovating. Do you see any ideas of how we can innovate this, or do you see already schools using space technologies for education.
I think as far as commercial rocket launch is concerned, that's always going to be with us. Elon Musk is going from power to power.
Yeah.
Before, you only had the big rocket manufacturers. You had Ariane Space from Europe. You had the Delta rockets, the Atlas rockets, ULA, etc. These guys were getting a fortune from government contracts because there wasn't really any competition. And then along comes Elon Musk with a Falcon rocket, and they all laughed at it. His first 3 launches from down in the Pacific near Kwajalein were all failures. And he had to beg, steal, and borrow money to get that 4th launcher. I don't know if you saw in the papers recently, he's filed for 1 million Starlink slots. Now, there's political stuff with that and a whole load of things that won't go in here, but Starlink is going to get bigger and bigger. And there are problems with that as well, orbital debris, etc., but we won't get into all of that just now. So as far as those type of launches are concerned, there's so much interest now in schools, but NASA's got a big problem. They've put a lot of their eggs in one basket with the SLS, years behind schedule. It is extremely expensive, and NASA's got plans for the South Pole lunar colonies. Now, that will happen, but the question is, who is going to supply the launch vehicles? I was over at Jeff Bezos's factory a while ago, seeing the New Glenn get manufactured. Tremendous rocket, huge beast. So him and Elon Musk, yes, almost definitely they're going to be putting payloads on the moon. But what about Artemis? You know, that's the thing. And NASA's changed. Years ago, they didn't really do too much collaboration with private industry. They did a lot of stuff in-house. Nowadays, they're having to spread that out, and it is a good idea. But the flagship is the SLS, and the cost of that and the way things are going just now in the world with wars and who knows what's going to happen, politically, there's a lot of pressure on that. And NASA's still got other functions as well, scientific work, probes, etc. But this one is the big flagship, and I think they're going to be having some problems in the not too distant future. Because congressmen and senators who might be interested in this, they have to listen to what their voting population is saying.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. This is an issue we're solving right now, and collaboration is a great tool, and reliance on more private companies is better. So I think I believe the future is good, and collaboration will solve these problems. Yeah.
So I want to pull on that string a little bit.
Okay.
Elisaveta, were you here when Artemis was orbiting, was going around on the moon kind of
I just arrived when they landed, the same day.
Tell us, from your perspective, while you were in Germany or in Europe, what was the viewpoint about how were people thinking or feeling about Artemis 2 in that mission around the moon? Were they like interested? Was it something was in the news all the time, or was it just kind of, not much exposure?
Everyone was very excited about Artemis. Yeah, everyone was very, very excited, and there was as well collaboration project on that mission with the European Space Agency. So it was exciting thing. Now Europeans are lately very, very close to themselves somehow, but everyone was excited. There was it was everywhere. Not like here probably, not like I was excited, not like I was excited. But eventually this thing happened, and I even know a friend of mine who is an artist in Germany, and her works won competitions to go with the Artemis to the moon. So we were in every circle. We were talking about this mission. Yeah, it's the best news from recently. Yeah. Mm.
Thank you for the presentation and talking for your thoughts on paper. This is absolutely ambitious. As you were talking, I kept thinking about how you're able to join philosophy, quantum physics with traditional physics and everything in between, right? So this is very very encompassing. I have a clear question. So let's for a second imagine two realities. Let's say one is a super bright future for humanity as a civilization. We go to start colonize other planets. Let's imagine that for a second, right?
Yep.
And let's imagine a darker future where we are not able to do that, where we say destroy the planet, maybe kill ourselves in the process. Let's say we don't thrive as a civilization. So what would you say went right in the bright future? What would you say went very wrong in the darker version of the future?
There are many scenarios for very dark future, and we want to escape those scenarios, and this is why everyone is working so much on becoming eventually going to outer space and exploring more. So this is eventually the brighter side is this optimism that humanity's story will not end with Earth, and that's why we need to accelerate exploring the moon, exploring other planets, exploring other solar systems to know whether that there is more to that. If we think about very far in the future, in 4 billion years, the sun will evaporate everything. So in a very far future, actually in 1 billion years, we will collide with Andromeda galaxies. We don't know whether this will bring new life. Every collision brings new life in itself. So every galaxy is a result of a previous form of galaxy. But we don't know whether we'll exist in a very, very, very long term. Because me as a scientist, I look in millions and billions years. If we look at 1,000 years, the future I think will be very, very, very good and very interesting and very wise, and it will be very complex. There will be so many machines. We'll collaborate more, but not necessarily. We'll become very, very much a complex species. We'll evolve a lot, and as many thousand years ago we escaped one continent, we will be going to other planets. What we see as risks are, for example, the climate crisis. It's a risk. We talk a lot about this, and there, for example, for such problems, there needs to be a very, very much efforts from many sides. I think we underestimate this a little.
I think the big problem is how fickle public can be. I'll give you an example. At the present moment, when Artemis 2 took off, there were tens of thousands of people over by the Kennedy Space Center watching this. Now, when the first space shuttle took off, every major American TV network and all the European networks and Asian networks covered it. It was a massive thing. So we were doing communication support at the satellite station out in the Atlantic. By the time Challenger came around, I was on duty the day that the tragedy happened. It was STS-51L. By the time it was due to take off, only CNN was covering the launch. The public's interest had faded away by so much they thought it was like a bus taking off. And the average person had no idea of the dangers that were present in that system there or could possibly happen. So what basically happened was a lot of senators and congressmen were getting bored because NASA had promised one launch a week. Now that could never happen. So couple of the reasons. First of all, weather. You have to have good weather at the Cape and can't have fishing vessels coming in, etc., etc. But there's also a thing called the transoceanic abort sites. When the shuttle took off, you had an engine failure. She would have to glide down to an emergency landing site. Now, there was a bunch of them. There was Banjul in the Gambia, there was Zaragoza in Spain, there was one in Morocco, there was one in France, there was one in an island I worked on in the Indian Ocean. On each one of those sites, you had an astronaut, and the weather had to be good there as well. So this never happened. The most they got was, I think it was like a couple in a month. And we geared up our system to do one a week. So these senators and congressmen were getting fed up with this. And there was actually talk of cancelling the whole program. So what did they do? Ronald Reagan came up with the idea of a teacher in space. Up until that point, the only astronauts were military and or payload specialists from, say, Hughes Aerospace, etc., etc. So the big competition, Krista McCullough got chosen, and this was to regenerate interest in the program. Now, we don't have this for Artemis just now. Everyone's loving it at the present moment. So what happened? Ronald Reagan wanted to do a State of the Union address with the space shuttle in orbit and a live TV program. The weather was very cold at the Kennedy Space Center. Morton Thiokol was a company that built solid rocket boosters, and they had O-ring seals, a sort of a rubbery type material in between stages. Now, one of the Morton Thiokol engineers said we've not tested these O-ring seals below a certain temperature. And there was actually icicles hanging off the gantry at the Kennedy Space Center. There was a whole series of phone calls between NASA headquarters, that's actually Washington, D.C., between the White House and Morton Thiokol, and of course the order was given to go, and we all know what happened then. So the public can be very, very fickle. And it was at that point people realized, that this was not just a bus going up into space, this was a highly complex system. And that's a thing that NASA has to be very careful of, that the public interest starts to fade away there.
Yes.
And it's all connected to the money.
Yeah.
Knowing how the world is looking at Artemis too, what they did, there's a lot of excitement. I think that could be the spark we're talking about to help motivate collaboration with governments, with people, kind of breaking down the barriers instead of being a competition. It's something that can be done. Like the International Space Station was very much a world opportunity, right? A lot of collaboration going on.
Yeah.
And since that's coming down, there's, we need something else. And being something that's not military related, something that's out in space, that is a great way to excite the younger generation, to excite all of us and all ages and across the world. And so that those kinds of things can help motivate people to do things together. And sometimes it seems like you have to go out of this world to get people to work together, when it should be stuff we have problems already around the world, right? But that seems to be a common thread.
This is one side, and the other side is we underestimate the scientific research that NASA does. That's a lot. Without this research, we won't be going anywhere, and we won't be knowing anything. And it's ongoing. It's very, very much.
That's right. It's not just here in the US. It's around the world.
It's around the world. Yeah. Is there someone from
Here, you guys are on the developing side of space law. I said, think about it. We have printers. We have the ability to take water and break it into hydrogen and oxygen. We are working on asteroid mining right now. I know UCF has a professor who's working with a European company to develop that. I said, the amount of money that we are spending just to get it off our ground and out of our atmosphere, there's a space wall coming. You're going to be able to stop by. They're going to have hydroponics growing, so there's your food. You need a part, print it out right there. Mine the items from the asteroids, bring it in, 3D print it, laser engrave it. You've got your metals, you've got your rock. We're now building houses with concrete 3D printers. Where are you guys as middle school students going to fit in? Because this is perfect. By the time they're ready for those things, you guys are going to be just coming out of college. Get in on the ground floor. Let's go now. Mm-hmm. And so they walk around and they go, Ms. Kern says there's going to be space Wawas. And they're like, I think I could help build this part of it. Or I could go work there. And so now it's at least in their brain. I have no expertise in this. The only thing I'm trying to do is get them excited so that they start looking at all the careers. Other than being able to turn on a jigsaw or a scroll saw and say, okay, we can cut little pieces of wood with this. And here's fusion, which they know more on it than I do. And here's the 4 forces of flight. That's about the extent of my knowledge and ability. But if it's getting them set or open to the possibilities for them, that's what I'm trying to do. Getting them going, yeah, you're only 10 years old coming out of elementary school. Let's get you into business keyboarding, which is middle school class. Then let's get you into some high school classes so you're eligible to go to Valencia. Now, my principal and I were just talking today about starting a prep class where we are taking anywhere from, we were talking the top 25% academically, bringing them in on weekends where almost every weekend, he's got a 3-hour camp going for math, for ELA, for science. And if we can bring those students in, get them up to speed on the math, which is the hardest part on the PERT for them. We've started getting 6th graders taking pre-algebra so they can take algebra, 7th graders and get into geometry earlier. So we can start getting them set up. Now, let's get you into the college level. What are your aspirations? We have one 7th grader, skipped a year already. He already skipped 5th grade. He's just finishing up his first semester with college algebra, programming, and English comp. And he's taking a bio class, another programming class, and he's asking, what else do I take? He wants to be an astrophysicist. Does he have any idea of exactly how to make that all happen? No, but he has these huge ideas of how he's going to make this, sorry, way over my head, but something to do with colliders. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to create this perpetual energy machine that's going to do this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, oh, that sounds wonderful. And he eats calculus books and physics books. He sits there and pores over them and goes, okay, I need something else to read. Does he have practical knowledge with it? No. He tried to build a tower out of paper with the surface tension formula. And I let him go. And then he's like, it's just not working. But my math is right. I'm like, honey, what is surface tension for? He's like, well, to determine if it can hold it for water. And he's like, oh, that's why my math doesn't work. So then he starts rebuilding it. I said, Hon, our camp is over. Go home and build. You need some paper? And so that's what we're working with. That he's an exceptional student, but then I've got others that are coming to me, underachievers, who are in remedial reading and remedial math, but they're getting a spark and an interest, and they're starting to go, well, you mean if I want to go into videography, I could actually go to college for that now if I can improve my math and reading grades? And it's just finding what gets their attention. And some of them are going, I don't want to be an engineer, but now I do know what I'm interested in from being in your class. And I like working with my hand. We've gone from kids taking a piece of wood and a screw and a screwdriver and then turning the piece of wood and me cringing and waiting for somebody else to go, no, that's not how you do it. You actually turn the screwdriver. And these are sixth graders teaching each other. I don't teach. I facilitate their learning. I go, here's what you need to do. And they go, but how do we do it? I'm like, look it up. Talk to each other. Oh, who in here knows how to do the Tinkercad really well? Who can program? All right, you guys are already doing Python, but do you know the block coding, which is what you, nope, never learned block coding. Now let's learn the block coding and see how they work together. Do I know how they work together? Can I put, nope, I have nothing to do with Python. I'm block coding. I'm learning Fusion because I have to take the test in order for them to take it. I'm at 60% pass rate on the practice, but I've got kids that are perfect scores every single time. And I'm like, all right, so show me how you do that again. So it's just finding their spark and then finding people that can take them past that planting the seed, because I can't do that. I can plant a seed, I can point them in a direction, but I can't get them there. So that's where I need people to get them there. And that's why we're trying to get them into college. If you're interested, let's go now. You know, like, I can do that. And our parents go, they can do that. Yeah, and it doesn't cost you anything. And I'm like, oh. So we end up with 40, 50 people coming up just to find out, how do I get my child started on acceleration? And we had over 30 students test. Only 12 of them passed, but we didn't do any prep. The kids did the prep on their own. Now we're talking how do we prep them for it and help them get there a little bit faster. If they're interested, why not have the chance? If they want to go that fast, why not let them? They're still in middle school, so they're still getting those social skills, which my really, really smart boy needs. But we can help them get there. I can find the people to get them there. I can get them started.
Thank you so much for this perspective.
You asked a question about what would be the next edition.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about like maybe having a plan or things, elements to get to be positive, meaning like highlighting the fact that we do have positive, we can be positive, right, in our outlook in civilization.
It's better to neither be a pessimist nor an optimist. So it's
But having a way of maybe how to get there would be great. Things to think about, steps to take for all of us as a civilization, not just individuals. We can do it too as individuals.
So what are actual actions we need to take?
Yes.
Okay.
We're not going to be here to see most of this happen. How do we create a pathway for those coming behind us?
Yeah, so here are the attributes, and what are the innovative solutions that will bring us more forward. This should definitely be maybe a next chapter. Yeah. Thank you.
How do you see the international community embracing space, commercializing space, getting industry to do some research in space and bring those benefits to Earth, and then eventually growing that presence around our planet, around the moon, and eventually to Mars, and then to the stars in a few centuries, is what I'm thinking. Does the international community really advocate that, or do you see, are they lukewarm?
The interests are still very much mixed of space industry, I think. what we're doing right now with Terafab, for example. This is absolutely next level. What SpaceX is doing with Terafab, building new chips and satellites on the moon to fire them to space to gather more energy and to go more further. It's a scientific research. I also think we should do much more of scientific research, and how to do this is again with lots of funds. But let's not forget we as well live in an economy, and many of the space companies nowadays are guided by other interests. But we start from somewhere. Internet, Saturn, the moons of Jupiter.
Well,
This is interesting.
Right now, I see it just slowly building. It's going to take.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very slowly building, but it's continuously. Maybe we should focus more on, like I know right now NASA is focusing a lot on medical research in space, so that we see how we as humans can live longer in space. So these are focuses right now: medical research, medications. Yeah, how to do laboratories in space.
Okay, we got time for a couple more questions. We're going to wrap up this one.
Yeah, Pierce.
Anybody that wants to ask a question, some of you.
We are working with Walter on an amazing book, a new book. I'm co-writing with him the book by your friend.
Systems thinking, engineering, and analysis. It's a book on systems engineering. It's pretty detailed.
Yeah, everyone should read this book.
Well, actually, we've taken a roll call. Well, y'all enrolled in Eventbrite.
Yes.
So we got your email.
Yeah.
Okay. We could send you information.
Yeah.
Is there any more questions? Anybody?
Or please check your virtual attendance to see.
Oh,
the virtual attendees. They're listening the whole time, so maybe I can ask them. Let's see. So anybody online who wants to ask maybe a question more? Samsung. Okay, they're right there. Okay. I think
let's thank our.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.